It's funny that I started this series talking about the Parish, the final chapter of Left 4 Dead's story, and now, 7 videos later, I get the chance to talk about the campaign that started it all. No Mercy remains a fan favorite amongst the community. Just like with Dead Center, this campaign had the job of setting the tone and establishing its characters, and No Mercy did its job to near perfection. 4 players or versus mode, it doesn't really matter. No Mercy is a fantastic campaign for nearly any game mode. Without wasting any more time, let's break down the story behind No Mercy. Before we get started with the actual campaign, I wanted to do a quick breakdown on the intro cinematic for Left 4 Dead 1. Not only is it the first ever cutscene in this series, it also takes place literally minutes before the start of the No Mercy campaign. So let's quickly break down this intro cinematic. After walking up an alley, Bill notices something strange and decides to investigate, which leads to this exchange with Francis.
Ain't seen anything like this before.
Jesus, don't let that stop you from smearing it all over yourself.
They're changing.
God damn it, Bill! Oh, it stinks!
For those who may not have noticed, this is Boomer Bile. We know this for sure because shortly after wiping the bile on Francis, the survivors get attacked by a small swarm of infected. Also, keep in mind what Bill said.
They're changing.
God!
And Bill is absolutely right. The infected are in fact mutating over the course of only 2 weeks, and it's obvious that the survivors up to this point have little to no experience fighting the special infected, which is pretty much confirmed a few seconds later, when the survivors hear the cryings of a witch and don't immediately run in the other direction. Zoe and Bill investigate, and after finding out the witch does in fact not need any help, Lewis storms in with a flashlight and pisses her off. This starts off an action scene where we get a look at how the pipe bomb works, and we get our first ever looks at the smoker and the hunter. And shortly after that, the survivors come face to face with a tank. This scene is just so goddamn cool. Remember, this came out in 2008. The survivors flee to a nearby alley and climb a fire escape to get away from the zombies. This exact fire escape can be seen blocking the alley once you leave the apartment. And after taking a short break, the survivors hear a helicopter flying overhead, telling them to go to Mercy Hospital. And now with all that out of the way, let's officially start breaking down No Mercy. Right before entering the subway, if you walk down the street, you'll find a partially collapsed building blocking the road. Considering the size of the building, I don't think this was done by a special infected. It would take a big explosion to bring a piece of it down. In theory, it could have been a lot of things, but if I had to take a bet, this could have been a bomb dropped by the military. It's implied in both wall graffiti and dialogue that the military has been bombing cities all over Pennsylvania. Like I said, I don't know for sure, but we'll come to find more evidence of military bombings the further we get into Left 4 Dead's story. For now, let's move on to the wall graffiti found in Chapter 2. Radio is saying Fairfield has been quarantined. Sarah, Jen is fine. Meet us at Riverside. Aaron. Entire city is gone. If you can read this, leave. At the start of Chapter 2, the survivors arrive at the destroyed subway tunnels. Just to serve as a quick reminder, with this campaign being the first ever in Left 4 Dead's history, the survivor dialogue is not nearly as fleshed out and, in my opinion, not nearly as entertaining as the dialogue interactions from Left 4 Dead 2. However, that doesn't mean there isn't some funny interactions. For example, the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors have easily the best friendly fire dialogue.
Ow! You having some kind of flashback, old man?
Go on! Do it one more time, fat man!
And for those who may not know, Zoe is a massive fan of horror movies, and will sometimes make a reference to horror classics like Aliens and Evil Dead.
Groovy. Game over, man! Game over!
And here's a funny back and forth between Francis and Bill.
We've been immune so far, but, well, if I start to turn, promise you'll shoot me.
What if just your beard starts to turn? Can I shoot that?
Speak up, Francis. Your voice got all muffled from your head being so far up your ass.
This next audio bit is probably my favorite voice line from Lewis.
If I go down, go on without me. Actually, wait, no. Save my ass.
Moving on to the start of Chapter 3, the survivors arrive at a pawn shop, and inside we have some more wall graffiti. Nobody is coming to save us. They are going to bomb the city. Get out. Nobody is going to save us. Heather, ignore the plan. Airport is quarantined. Meet me at Mom's. Rick. At the start of Chapter 3, the survivors cut through a burger tank, and yes, this is the same burger tank seen in the finale of Hard Rain. Shortly after, the survivors have to cut through a warehouse using a lift to get on the roof. Depending on the game mode you're playing, this is one of the hardest events in the game. Whenever I play versus mode on No Mercy, team wipes happen here all the time, and I can only imagine how much harder it is on expert difficulty. After cutting through the warehouse, the survivors find multiple dead bodies, and sometimes Bill will say this.
Looks like people went this way.
Shortly after, the survivors arrive at the sewers, thinking it would be the fastest way to get to the hospital. Upon entering the sewers, you'll sometimes get this dialogue between the survivors.
The subway smelled bad, but this...
Francis, is that you or the sewer?
Moving on to the end of Chapter 3, the survivors officially arrive at Mercy Hospital, and there is a lot of ground to cover in Chapters 4 and 5. Before going any further, let's break down some wall graffiti. Mercy Hospital is overrun. John, I'm safe. I got out and I'm traveling with good people. They are immune too. We are going to find a supermarket and fortify it. We will hide until the army comes. I love you, Sharon. I killed 63, 77, 86, 104, 109, bitches. 53,595. Lies. That final number is a reference to the infamous Dead Rising achievement Zombie Genocider, which is rewarded after killing exactly 53,594 zombies. And it should also be noted that Left 4 Dead 2 has an achievement that's very similar to Zombie Genocider, but this time it's rewarded after killing 53,599 zombies. And if you open up your calculator and take 53,599 and subtract it by 53,595, the answer you get is 4, which is yet another reference to the number 4 seen in Left 4 Dead's title. Before you even leave the safe room, sometimes you'll get this dialogue between the survivors.
So, yeah.
Were they saving people or killing them?
When walking through Mercy Hospital, it's important to note that the lights are still working and the computers are still on. It's entirely possible that the survivors who did hold out at Mercy Hospital died hours, maybe even minutes before the Left 4 Dead crew's arrival. However, most, if not all, hospitals are equipped with emergency generators, so remember, we don't know for sure. And since we're already knee-deep in the No Mercy rabbit hole, here are a few more things that we need to break down. In the Sacrifice comic, we see Bill before the outbreak at a hospital waiting for a surgery. Some people have speculated that the surgery takes place at Mercy Hospital, but I don't think this is true for 2 reasons. 1, at the start of this flashback, we see the outline of the hospital where Bill is, and it looks nothing like Mercy Hospital, not to mention the name, Veterans Hospital. I suppose it's possible that Bill was transferred to Mercy Hospital for his surgery and we simply didn't see it, but that brings me to reason number 2. After Bill escapes his surgery, he runs into a hallway, and these tiled floors are nowhere to be found in Mercy Hospital. Again, I don't know with 100% certainty, but I'm willing to bet that Bill was in fact not getting his surgery at Mercy Hospital. But before we move on, there's one more thing that deserves a mention. Mercy Hospital makes an appearance in the game Payday. In fact, the layout of this mission matches the layout from Left 4 Dead 1 almost perfectly. And if you're wondering what the Payday crew was doing at Mercy Hospital, they were extracting blood from infected patients. Yeah, you can probably see where this is going. And at the start of this heist, if you look behind you, you can see Bill standing in the elevator. However, it's important to note that this is more likely than not an Easter egg that isn't canon to Left 4 Dead's story. So with that out of the way, let's finally talk about the elevator ride, which comes with some dialogue for us.
I can't get over how fast they all are. It's not even fair. I'm calling zombie bullshit on that, you know? They're not allowed to be so fast.
You call this a zombie apocalypse? Don't hold a candle to the great zombie attack of 57. Nah, I'm horseshitting you.
Where the hell did all these vampires come from?
They ain't vampires, man. They're zombies.
Yeah, whatever you say, Professor Monster.
The final stretch of Chapter 4 is a prime spot for death charges. In 4 players, you'll be fine, but in Versus mode, this is a very dangerous spot for the survivors, and it's even worse when you get the tank spawn up here. Now, moving on to the beginning of Chapter 5, where we have some more graffiti to break down. It takes at least 4 days to change. No, it doesn't. 3 days. 2.5 hours. I saw it happen in 5 minutes. I promise, I will go into more detail on this in a few minutes, but for now, I want to go over the rest of the graffiti. No zombie is safe from Chicago Ted. On the wall next to the graffiti is an infection warning left by Sita, which reads as follows. If you think you are infected, remain calm. Quarantine yourself from the uninfected population immediately. Do not attempt to contact friends or family. Contact a contamination facility for immediate screening. Upon arriving at the rooftop, the survivors find a radio and use it to contact the helicopter pilot. This finale is again one of the best finales in the game, at least in my opinion. The rooftop is filled with supplies and good vantage points, but if you're playing on Versus mode, you are at risk of an instant death throughout the whole duration of the finale. Death charges are one thing, but once the tank rolls in, try and stay in the center of the roof to the best of your ability. Remember, good infected teams will do their best to force you to the edge and set up a death charge. So if you're playing Versus on this finale, be sure to move with caution. After fighting off the infected hordes, the pilot arrives and rescues the survivors. Now, after digging through the files, I found some deleted audio clips for the helicopter pilot. Here's a few of them.
Saw you get hit. Are you immune? Just tried a street pickup. I should know better. I think I got hit. Can you grab me a first aid kit? I am getting really cold.
Now, let's recall the wall graffiti found in the beginning of the finale. This is where I have to put on the speculation cap because this next question has almost no definitive answer. Spoiler alert for those who may not know, it's revealed in Crash Course that the pilot turned into a zombie, just like almost all the other pilots in this franchise. Here comes the difficult question though. Did the pilot turn because he got bit during a supposed street pickup, or because of his proximity to the survivors? Well, if I had to guess, it was likely during the street pickup. Not only does the pilot bring up an incident that happened over the radio, but there's a voice line of the helicopter pilot turning into a zombie. Again, I don't know for sure, but regardless of the reason, this guy was fucked either way. Maybe it was a combination of being bit and the pilot's proximity to the survivors that drastically sped up the turning process. But again, that's just speculation. Pilots really do have it bad in this franchise. And that concludes the story behind No Mercy. Once again, thank you for being patient with me. Up next we got Crash Course, and after that, we've only got 3 campaigns left. If I missed anything, be sure to let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.